Welcome back to the Strength and Speed Podcast. I'm your host, Strength and Speed owner Evan Preparis. I don't have Brenna with me, but I am recording in a gym live with my guest sitting right next to me. Before we get to her, though, quick shout out to our sponsors. So this episode is brought to you by Yoked. If you're interested in improving strength, you can check out yoked.com. What it is fertilized egg yolk that has been pasteurized and processed so it's safe to eat, and they turn it into a powder, and you can sprinkle it on your food, or you can basically consume the packet as is. Pretty interesting stuff. I just found it earlier this year, and they actually just released it onto the market earlier this year. So go check them out. They had some clinical studies that showed basically 3 times the muscle growth, which was kind of cool. And yeah, pretty good product. You can use code STRENGTH15 for 15% off when ordering from their website. They also recently announced they'll be selling them from vitamin shops nationwide at the end of December 2018. So check those out. All right, joining me, I'm going to try to say your name without messing it up. I have Helene Dumais. Yes. All right. Joining me. So a couple of highlights from her bio. Came in second in the Killington Ultra-Beast back in 2014. Has a string of OCR podiums. Really heavily emphasizes the ultra endurance side of both trail running, and then OCR. So I didn't actually recognize her name when I initially talked to her, but after talking to her for a little bit, I was like, she's got a lot of very impressive results, including finishing the 888K Infinitus up in Vermont. Is that right? So, which some of you may know, I think Peak Races was the one that put it on?
Nope. It's the Endurance Society.
Okay, Endurance Society. I'm sorry. That's correct. Sorry. All right, so anyway, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Cool. So let's start off with, how did you find OCR? I know you came from a background of running, so what pulled you into the sport initially?
Yes, I first ended up into running. Not necessarily I was attracted by the sport, but more the adventure side of being in the wood. That's what got me into running. And as I was ramping up the distances, I got higher too soon, so I tore a muscle, and so I couldn't plan anything long for the next season. And I wanted to test my muscle back again, my legs back again. And I saw in the race calendar something saying 5K obstacle course. I didn't know what it was, and I signed up for that. I showed up. It was a sprint Spartan race in 2013 in Quebec, Canada. And I finished on the podium, so that was a good start. I'm like, "Ooh, this is great!" An added dimension of trail running, which was the obstacles. And so I went crazy right after. I did a super Spartan, and then I totally went straight to Killington for the World Championship in 2013. I think I was top 50. I didn't care. I had a blast. But the next year, 2014, I just went crazy. I dreamed big. And so I ended up doing 26 races in Canada, United States, France. And in there, I ended up on 18 podiums. So that was fun.
Yeah, that's a lot. And very impressive, not only to do so well, but to race that much and be that consistent. Because, as you fill up your race schedule, it wears down on you, and doing, back-to-back races on 2 days or back-to-back weekends even can really start affecting your performance, and you're not operating at 100%. You're operating at 80, 90 maybe, and still doing well.
No, definitely. That was actually a year of discovery, how far can we push the body? I didn't plan that much races from the start. Maybe I had, 12 plan, but then, I like this one, maybe I can go this one. And that's for sure. So I had a blast, But here's the tip from the experience is at the end of the season, as much as I thought, oh, I'm going to keep going the next year, but I almost burned myself doing too much. I cut myself going to the gym and like not motivated and almost crying. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Okay, maybe I pushed too hard. So I was borderline overtrained.
Gotcha. Now, since 2014, how many OCRs have you done? Or have you transitioned completely into the trail running, ultra running scene?
Well, right after I transitioned in, it's close to OCR. It doesn't really have a category. It's on its own. It's the Survivor Run. This is what I found. So it's a 24-hour format because I really like the long distance thing. So we can look at it as an obstacle course event, but it has its own unique flavor. So it's a 50-mile long course in always like a pristine location. In this case, it's in Nicaragua on an island with 2 volcanoes. And so the big thing is that you don't know what the course is going to be. You don't know what the task and challenges you will be facing. And they are legit challenges. You can swim to an island, climb trees, carry heavy stuff, but for way longer than Killington Mountain, for example. I climb over a volcano, and I had to carry bamboo plantains, 30 pounds of plantains over a huge volcano. It was 8-hour carry, basically. Meanwhile, you're going up and down. Meanwhile, you're doing other tasks. And another year, remember, carrying a bamboo, which is really light, a bamboo, but a 15 feet long pole of bamboo in some gnarly trail in a muddy volcano in the night. I laugh as much as this is insane. How am I going to get that long piece of bamboo all the way up and over across this volcano? That was awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like a really interesting event. We've talked to some people. I don't think we've had anyone on the podcast who's done survival run before. We've had some people who've done death race, which I think is somewhat similar, as in there's no kind of fixed format and they're kind of telling you what to do and then you're reacting. Does the survivor run have land navigation, or is it generally like, hey, move along this trail until you find the end? Or is it like, I have my map and compass out, I got to figure out where to go?
Yeah, so there's no map and compass involved. You following indication that the staff will give you. Sometimes maybe a few sections can be marked, let's say on the volcanoes where they're not going to have people up there. But sometimes, all right, just follow the shore of the lake and, you'll get somewhere and you'll have something else to do. So yeah, it's the same as you constantly face unknown. So you got to be ready for anything and everything. And you're self-supported. So food, water, you're on your own.
Gotcha. Yeah, sounds like a pretty interesting event. What are some of the other, obstacles or things you had to do in that survival run?
So every survival run, the task or the obstacles are inspired by local life over there. So in Nicaragua, they climb trees, they swim. What do I have to do? Carry, but so heavy, long carry, dive in the lake and like fish or, go retrieve something deep in there. It mimics, so the fishermen, they have to set up their fishing net at the bottom of the lake. So that's how they do it. They just dive. They have no techie gear to do that. You're always carrying something. And awkward, heavy, so a long bamboo, bucket of water, huge for hours, again, in gnarly trails in the dark. I had to carry a live chicken at some point.
That's the one I've heard about. Whenever I hear survival run, I think of carrying a live chicken.
Yeah, you think you're done, you just carried a heavy rock somewhere, and then you give it to them, and then they give you a live chicken. Like, what? But actually, so the race, they buy all these chicken to offer to the schools over there. So we're actually contributing to the island whenever we do this event, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I had to carry chicken throughout the night, all across the island. That was awful.
It sounds like a pretty cool event. Not my cup of tea, but I think it is, for those of you who are looking for sort of like a different type of adventure, but still in that endurance realm. but don't necessarily know how to do land navigation because that requires a whole new set of skills. Like I meet people all the time who are like, "Oh, I'd really love to do Barclays Marathon." It's like, well, do you know how to like land navigate? And like, I don't. It's like you have a steep learning curve ahead of you if you want to try to finish that race, or other races like that, like adventure racing, which requires land navigation, requires knowing how to use a map and compass. So now you've also done the Infinitus 888K, and which. How many miles is that? What are we, 500?
551 mile.
551 miles. Now, I know you didn't get on your first year. Took you 3 years,
Right.
which is the fact that you'd go back repeatedly is impressive. Because it's like that mental fortitude and grit to subject yourself to something like that, and then having to, try to do it again and again. So, kind of take us through those 3 years and what went wrong and kind of what lessons you learned that ultimately applied to your success.
Yeah, so most of my I choose my event out of just, attracted by it because it looks amazing, like the Survivor Run, the place is just so beautiful. Now, the Infinitus, the fact that I finished the Survivor Run Nicaragua, I became the first woman to do that 3 years ago. And so more and more people would just send me, "Hey, have you seen this race? No woman has ever done it before." So that's how I ended up on Infinitus. This guy who was at the Survivor Run Nicaragua, he's like, "Check this out," and then it's 888 kilometer, and I'm like, "This is insane, no way." He's like, "And these are loops." I'm like, "Loops? Get out of here." And so he said, "You have 10 days to complete it, but you could be the first woman, you get that mental toughness." So I hang up, and I just, for fun, I'm like, no, but for fun, I start calculating how many miles per day. Okay, food. Do I run through the night? And I just start for fun, but like, hey, I'm working on it for the past 2 hours, so maybe, okay, do something about it. So it was not necessarily like a dream I wanted to do, but more, man, that's quite a puzzle that I want to solve. So I show up the first year in 2016 without a plan, really, because I was used to do just self-supported event. But over there, you end up, you do need a crew. You're there for 10 days, not sleeping much. So at some point, you need someone that just think for you, basically. Just eat this, go back out. So first year, I got to 420 miles, 8 days. I crashed for a few reasons. My nutrition was kind of messed up. I was like, in caloric deficiency. Mm-hmm. I was like shivering. It was 70, 80 outside. Yeah. So that's like, okay, something's wrong with you. I pushed a bit too hard. I mean, it was a discovery year, let's say. Second year, I thought I had a plan. Now, building on what not to do from the first year, still new problems occur. So, damn, I was kind of annoyed by that. I got to 10 days. I kept running for 10 days, but I got to 460 miles. And so on my way driving back home, I thought, I'm thinking, I'm not going to go there a third time. This is insane. And yet, there must be a way. Every year, there's one guy that finishes. So it's doable. Now, okay, the guy, of course, he has a faster pace than me. But so if I make a plan that I've just no margin for errors, it's doable. So I work hard. I made a master plan. I have a binder with all my Excel sheets. Day 5 at 5:45, where I'm at, what am I eating? Everything is all calculated. And I found a badass crew, a woman from Quebec. She's an OCR runner, Caroline Laforêt. She's like, for people from Quebec, they know her. Yeah. She follows, by the way, everything online, so I'm sure she's gonna listen to that podcast for sure. And so she got injured in one of her race on a. She tear muscles, and she said, I can't train for any races for the next season. I need something. Helene, I'm gonna crew you. I've been following that thing for 2 years. I'm gonna be there with you. So she showed up. I mean, we made a master plan, her and I, because of course you need a crew. So I can't say I did it on my own, right? She was on it, and we pulled it out this year. So big accomplishment. Pretty proud of that.
And what month was this in?
In May 2018.
Yeah, and I came by, so we're actually recording right now at Otherworld OCR in Frederick, Maryland, which we'll talk about a little more in a minute. But I came by in August, and I remember Tim being like, yeah, she finished a 540-mile race. And I was like, what? I was like, what? Wait, like, can you repeat that again? Because I think I heard the number wrong. But yeah, I think you were still kind of tapering off of it, or kind of slowly recovering.
Slowly recovering.
Which was several months later. So,
yeah.
I mean,
funny enough, so those 3 years of doing that race, every April, May, June, July, I kind of just reserve for that, because either I'm prepping for or I'm recovering from.
Yeah, very impressive. So I find that when I start doing really long endurance stuff, once you exceed, maybe 5 hours, I get almost embarrassed to tell people what I'm doing, because they think you're operating in a different world, and it's almost easier just not to talk about. Yeah. And at 888K, even as an endurance athlete, I hear that number and I'm trying to do math in my head again, how many days it's going to take you to finish and blah, blah, blah. Do you kind of have that same feeling?
Oh, yeah. So I don't even, I'm being very humble. People, what do you, oh, yeah, I do long distance. That's all.
Right.
Really long distance, but that's it. I don't go anywhere else. So they're thinking marathon, sometimes, sure. Up until they maybe ask, and it takes a while to process, and I tell people that's okay. You don't have to understand, it's not better. I keep saying it I'm not healthier or whatever, maybe even worse, it takes a toll on you, all the sleep deprivation you get out of there. Still that day, this year, my plan was really good, so I had 4-hour sleep per 24-hour, which is good.
And then how much did you actually do per day? Did you account for degradation in performance, or was it
even? So the third year, I realized I need something to just be constant and follow that. So I was conservative. I made a plan. You had 240 hours, 10 days to finish it. I finished it in 238. That was just make it. So don't mess up. Don't go too fast. Don't go crazy. But then there's no place for error. So I was averaging, 2 marathons a day in trails. So about 17 hours of running. And then through that, some pause, change socks and everything, and get that 4-hour nap.
Gotcha. Now, how often did you change clothes? Or let's go to the trail. Was it very technical terrain or fairly well groomed, a lot of elevation gain? What are we talking here?
It was nice, varied. So a little bit of everything. So not just flat, not just super gnarly, but a little bit of everything, which was great. Sometimes rolling, sometimes rocky, going across some creeks. Sometimes when it rained, you got water up to your thighs.
At 10 days, the weather is going to change drastically. It could be 70 one day and 45 the next day.
Yeah. Well, throughout the 3 years, this year was pretty much the most constant, which was good for that. But we had a nasty rain, and also one night it just windy, like you couldn't believe it. All the tents were out. Last year was a crazy storm as well. Everybody didn't want to go out, and I was on the long loop, so meaning I cannot just stop there. I got to keep pushing and get to the base camp. So my pacer was a bit scared at that time. I think it was one of his few experiences at night, and plus we're just fighting against the element out there. Yeah. I was a tiny bit scared to a moment, just keep moving, because if something happened, this is cold, wet, windy, it's actually dangerous. Don't stop, just get out of there quick.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's again very impressive, and you're reaching distances that are pretty unfathomable. That's a painful distance to drive. Yeah. Let alone move by foot. So I'm sure people want to know what shoes you wore, or any kind of specific gear things that were quote unquote vital to your performance?
Yeah, so I'm not the typical one, meaning I'm minimalist in my approach, and so I had New Balance minimalist shoes for that. They're kind of slippers, soft, and so this is what I ran into, basically, as well as some Luna sandals. Sometimes I just want my toe to really breathe out, so I would do like a lap or two with my Luna sandals. And the rest of my gear was Osprey pack. That's pretty much it.
How far is each lap?
So the course is designed as an infinity sign, right?
Wow.
And in the middle of that 8, it's the base camp. So my crew is there. So you start with the smaller loop, which is about 7 miles, and then you go for the bigger loop, the rest of it. So, more or less big numbers, but just on 2 hour for the small loop and 6 hour for the big loop. Of course, if it's just one marathon, I can kill that first loop like under an hour. But that was not the point. You just gotta be consistent in the pace, don't go crazy, so you can make it all the way for the 10 days.
Cool. Well, in 2016, Stephanie Bishop, who's known for adventure racing and specifically expedition length adventure racing, so we're talking multiple days, which is not unlike what you're doing, came into World's Toughest Mudder as a complete dark horse and wins, right? So can we expect to see you showing up to, I don't know, Toughest Mudder, World's Toughest Mudder, or something like that in the near future, this year, next year?
This is a question I get often every year. Are you going to do World's Toughest Mudder? Are you going to do World's Toughest Mudder? Funny enough, it just happened that every year it's at the end of the season. Maybe I was just broke. Okay, I can't make it. And by focusing on just self-supported ultra running, to me, of course, I'm competitive. So if I want to show up there, I want to make sure I'm trained enough for the obstacles. So now that I'm managing an obstacle course gym and I'm coaching here, so I get to be able to train a lot more about it. So slowly I'll pick up the pace or the strength that I want to, and I'll probably hit those 24-hour OCR races for sure.
Cool. Any other big plans for 2019? Not going to try to repeat the 888K or anything like that, or run the Appalachian Trail, anything crazy?
No, I mean, there are so many things that we can do. I'm just surfing since the Infinitus 888, and now have just picking back up some speed, some endurance, some strength at all different level. And so I'm gonna go do in the Grand Canyon, just a challenge. Have you heard of the rim to rim to rim?
Of course, yeah.
So I'll do a rim to rim to rim to rim to rim.
So that's
100 miler.
Yeah, okay. So
basically
four complete lengths or crossings of the Grand Canyon.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So I mean, the name should give it away, but rim to rim. So you go from top down to the bottom, back to the top. That's one rim.
Exactly.
And then
yep.
So four times that.
Yep. So this is going to be just a fun training. Actually, it's a client who's training for the 250 miler Infinitus. So it's the half distance. And
half distance is 250.
Right.
Yeah, no big deal.
And so I told
One day
him
I'll do the full. Yeah, it's only 250. Yeah.
I said find a 100 miler around February, and if you don't find anything, we'll put something together to make you just train for it. So this is perfect. So we'll do the rim to rim to rim, crash for 4 hours, and then rim to rim to rim again, just to mimic the logistic of it. So I'm gonna go there for fun. I'll have a 50K just in my neighborhood. I'll have a 14-hour. It's called the Vertical Playground. Again, it's right here in Killington Trails. And you have to hit as much elevation gain in 14 hours in that case. And there are some rules. You cannot go, let's say I was thinking, oh, this hill is pretty long, I'm just going to do back and forth. But you cannot go at the same place in the same hour. So let's say, I climb, there's a good climb over there, just take 30 minutes, just climb.
Yeah.
I have to let an hour go pass before I can actually go back there.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So you need some strategy. So I'm doing it's going to be fun. That's in April, May, June. June, I have a 100-miler back in Quebec. Yep. And then I'm working on bigger project because, I've been racing a lot. I like racing, but also how can I make the world a better place with what I'm doing? So I want to start a series of running expedition. Will be called Run with a Purpose. And so I will design like an endurance challenge where it will actually have an impact, let's say, on a humanitarian level or environmental level. So I'm searching right now. I'm looking at one project, maybe possible one in Africa, where there's this group. They're drilling water wells. Thank you. And so, how about I link up those villages? So who knows? It's a 200K course, and of course you got to be self-supported and get the water. Those villagers got to walk 5 hours every day to get. So at the same time, it will bring awareness to that. I will document that. So I'm working on something like that. Nothing is in the concrete yet, but it's a lot of logistic actually.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That sounds really cool, and totally agree. Sometimes the logistics of that stuff is almost harder than the actual event. So like I did OCR America in 2016, where I basically multi-lapped permanent OCR venues across the U.S., starting in Vermont and ending in Oklahoma City. So I did 7 days, 7 different venues, and the logistical challenge of going to coordinating all that information and getting your hotels and travel and figuring out how far you're gonna have to drive each night was more work than actually just running the course. And the problem with that was every time I have a conflict or something with one of the venues, and they were like, all right, we really would like for you to come on this day because that's when our normal group night is. And I was like, okay, I'll switch around. And it causes a ripple in both directions. And now I have to call the first 3 venues and tell them to adjust things for the. So yeah, totally understand where you're coming from for that, and love seeing that using your endurance to bring awareness to something else. I think that's super great. A lot of times we race. Sometimes we say we don't race for ourselves, but at the end of the day, I think there's a large selfish portion of specifically I go out and run on a daily basis, and I'm not spending time with my wife or daughter, right? Fact. We can say why we're doing it or whatever, but at the end of the day, I'm physically not home because I'm running. So I think sometimes linking that to a higher purpose not only creates a better reason and kind of more value, but also makes you push a little bit harder. Where I know if I'm running for someone else, I can maybe dig a little bit deeper rather than just wouldn't it feel good to finish in place X?
Yeah, regarding that, I got to do cool stuff too to use my ability. It was with Adventure Science. It's a group, again, a nonprofit, and they do different projects. It's a bunch of scientists mixed with endurance athlete. So the founder is Simon Donato. He's kind of known. He's an endurance athlete. He's got the TV show Boundless. And so I ended up on project. All right, we're in the Sierra Nevada in California. We need to retrieve lost airplanes, pieces that you can't go by tank, you can't go by airplane, so you got to go on foot. So, okay, we need a team to do that. So that's pretty cool. So, okay, Helene, they know I like just running long distance, and it is just a lot of logistic as well. So we have all the communication gear.
Yeah. And
then at some point, all right, we need to set up base camp on the other side of these mountains. Now, is there still too much snow to pass? So, Helene, do you want to go check up? Sure. So, half marathon climb, running up there with, elevation gain. And, okay, this is the snow. I'm just gathering information, bring it back down. Okay, yes, we can pass. Or no, we cannot pass. We got to wait. So, this is really cool. Adventure Science, if you just check out the different project they have been doing, and there's more. They just did one in the Arctic. So I really like the idea of it. That's kind of my direction as well, as I was sharing, doing these expedition and help at the same time.
Awesome. Good stuff there. Now, like I said earlier in the podcast, we're recording at Otherworld OCR in Frederick, Maryland, which is the only OCR gym that I know of even in the area. And if it isn't, this is the best one by far, because what I'm staring at right now is, I know a lot of people are going to get excited. If you're wondering where the other two Battle Frog Platinum rings are, they're in Otherworld OCR in Frederick, Maryland. So I'm staring at a double-wide Platinum rig, which I was playing on last night as part of their Reindeer Games event. But you got to come, if you're driving through Maryland or you're coming to a race like Savage, Maryland or whatever, you got to stop by Otherworld OCR because the gym is just phenomenal. So first, I guess let's take us through a little bit more information about the gym in general.
Yeah, sure. So, this jewel is Tim Guinan, well known in the OCR community, and so he acquired that green jewel, the platinum rig. What is it? 5 bay by 4. So we actually have the biggest platinum rig indoor in the whole United States right now. So many possibilities going back and forth around, change the grips, name it, we can make it.
And it's the actual Battle Frog
rig.
So personally, I feel like there's a lot of memories, some really good, some really bad, tied to it. So it's like looking at a piece of OCR history in our very brief, OCR run here.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of emotion going through that rig. And so, it's 9,000 square feet. We like to have a different signature obstacles of the race, different races. So, Rolling Thunder from Bone Frog. We got the Stairway to Heaven from Conquer the Gauntlet.
Indian Mud Run, or Skull Valley.
Yeah, Skull Valley up there. So we have already big obstacles like that. We're kind of unique in that sense. You don't find an obstacle course racing oriented gym, so it's very specialized. The coaching it's all about that. So we have different classes. Sometimes you want to work obstacle technique, sometimes you want to work the running. This is me, by the way, who's gonna coach the running, of course. A functional OCR, name it, some weightlifting. Of course, Tim and I are both coach for sure. So he's coming from a bodybuilding background as well. I'm coming from a CrossFit. I'm a CrossFit Level II, so I like the variety of what CrossFit can bring into weightlifting. So funny enough, sometimes I come in this is a nice gym. I'm like, well, hell yeah! I actually live here. That's my second house, actually.
So what I really like about this gym is, if I had unlimited money and was going to design my own gym, it would pretty much look exactly like this place. So not only do we have Monkey Bars, the Weaver, the Destroyer, look right in front of me. We have Rolling Thunder from Bone Frog. We have a wall where you can actually add boards, so you can make it anywhere from 4 to 9 feet tall. There's an indoor hill with a bunch of rec bags. There's a hoist. There's a rope climb. I'm looking at 2 sleds that are about 5 feet from me. Stairway to Heaven, Skull Valley in the back, traverse rope. But here's where I get really excited. There's also a full weight room in the back corner there. So you don't actually need to go buy a membership to another gym and then use this for OCR specific training. You can just get a membership here, and that's kind of solves that problem. And then on top of that, there are 4 woodway treadmills. 4 woodway treadmills over there, which, if you know anything about treadmills, they're super nice.
Yeah, those are the treadmills that are activated by you. So better, more accurate. But yeah, that was always my challenge before here, to find a gym. Well, you go to your gym, you lift weight, but you're so limited with the aspect of training for the obstacle. And sometimes you would find a facility that have obstacle or ninja place, but still, okay, you just play in there. Whereas here, okay, we can go specific and train some, any technique, strength, endurance, speed, whatever you're required, wherever you are in your journey into OCR, we're gonna accompany you.
Yeah, it's got a great location too. The actual gym is kind of in a business park, would you call it?
Yeah.
So the actual other businesses around here, a lot of them are office type stuff. Mm-hmm. But there's not a lot of traffic here, so you can actually go run outside the building or do a lap, or incorporate that into your workout. But at the same time, we're 2 miles from like a major shopping center area. So, if you want to go grab lunch or whatever, it's literally right down the road. So, huge fan of this place. Luckily, my relatives live nearby, so I'm going to come up here every time I come visit them.
Lucky us to to have you visiting. It's so fun when you're coming.
Yeah. So last night, I happened to be in town for the reindeer games. So we're recording this right before Christmas, and it was pretty cool. They had one of the guys from like one of those escape rooms come, and they set up a little course here, and we broke into teams. So tell us a little about the reindeer games, and then kind of go into what other fun events you guys have planned, because I know it's not just like normal weight training and obstacle training. There's actual fun things going on.
Yeah, so last night the reindeer games was pretty unique. So yeah, we partner up with an escape room in Frederick, Maryland, Sherlocked in. We're both, so him and I, Chris, is a funny guy. It's like we're both crazy minds. So let's design something. Can we do challenges that are involving obstacles and also mind puzzle?
Yeah, he was really good. Like, he was announcer at OCR. He was better than most announcers I've seen at OCRs, right? He was really clever with like the puns and just like him calling out the podium award
He's
winners.
a natural. He's a natural
very
at that.
good,
So
very good.
The whole event was all the proceeds went for a charity. So that was really to have fun, and we're happy that events you showed up for that. That was really cool for that. But beside everyday classes and membership and open gym, yes, we do some competition. So just check out our calendar. OCR, indoor, outdoor OCR competition. We really want to start a trend to be a reference for that. So, and we like to hear what people would want to see, what do you want to compete? Because we have the races, but you cannot race every weekend necessarily. And so we came up with the idea to start league play. Check this out. It's coming up. So we're building it, again, depending what people want. Do you want mixed league, female, male? But a league play, whereas, in teams of 2, every Saturday, you show up and, let's say, short course through the rig, or, 3 obstacle, bam, bam, bam. And your time, and just like in the league, you ended up ranking. So every Saturday or every Tuesday night, who knows. So at least you get to compete, get that fun excitement from racing, but every week, because you cannot race every week.
Yeah.
So we're starting that. Hit us up if it's something that you're interested in too, of course. If not, if you're on the other side of the country. But if you're more or less in the area, the more interest, so we can better plan how long is going to be the league, which day, and what do you guys want? Some people, are we going to go outside, inside? Oh, we have some tire flips as well. Big tires outside.
Yeah, cool. Sounds like there's a lot of good stuff going on here. The reindeer games last night was a ton of fun. It was like maybe 10 different stations. I'd say about 3 of them, maybe 4, were like puzzles, so something you'd find straight out of the Sherlocked in type thing. And then the other 6 or 7 were like OCR themed. So it was like, how many times can you cross the Weaver in 6 minutes as a team? And then there was like bonus points if you could. You can explain the bonus points?
Yeah. If you could carry a EXO protein bar. So EXO, it's a protein bar made out of cricket flour. I love those. It's been
good.
a while.
Like, I know some people are like, ugh, crickets.
Yeah.
Like, one, there's not like chunks of crickets in there. Although I think that would be cooler. I would probably buy more of them. But yeah, it's like ground. So
yeah, it's
tastes
flour,
like
cricket flour, since you can have wheat flour, so you don't taste it. And so yeah, I got to have them. And so anybody who can carry a bar under his chin throughout the obstacle without losing it, get extra points. I was amazed because I didn't test all of these. I just threw that at the end before the event. Yeah, okay. So I didn't test that in the Weaver. I'm like, is it even doable? It was so awkward to have your chin tuck while doing the Weaver, but the guy were killing it.
Yes, yeah, so the Weaver wasn't too bad. The monkey bars weren't too bad because they didn't take that long. The rope traverse wasn't too bad because the rope traverse is the easiest one because it's like sitting on your chest. Right. The rig was super awkward. So like trying to cross the Battle Frog rig, like with my chin stuck to my chest, was it was awkward. And then again, because your chin's stuck to your chest, you're like staring at the ground, so you're having to use like your peripheral vision on the hold. So I'm kind of like reaching blind. I made it all the way to the end once, and like swung at the bell, and I touched the outside of the bell, but I didn't like ring it. So I counted it as a good one. But like, I mean, we're talking like a millimeter away from completely missing the bell and just falling.
Oh yeah, the rig for sure, because monkey bars are just the same thing. So even if you're looking at the ground, you just keep repeating the same movement. But the rig, well, what's the setup in there? So you go from ring to monkey bars to nunchuck, and we had something funky at the end.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. A lot of it wasn't just who's the strongest or who's the fastest, or the puzzles played into it to score for your overall points, and then some of the events you got like multipliers based off of how many of your team did it. So if your whole team got halfway, you got like a bunch of bonus points, which is kind of cool to see. So it's not just who had the best athletes on their team. So.
No, because one thing is that each iteration was 6 minutes. So as many, you get as many points as a team in 6 minutes. So you can just burn yourself on the first two obstacles, and then you're smoked for the rest. I remember the sled pull push. I think people were charging hard on this one, and then
I was hurting on that one.
Yeah, after 2-3 minutes, I'm like, man, I'm smoked.
I finished one of the sled drags back, and I was like, whoo, better take a breather for a couple seconds. I'm getting a little lightheaded. Because I just started kind of ramping up my run training again. Actually, yesterday morning, I ran 8 miles before that morning. And then, so when I showed up, like, I don't know, I was more tired than I usually was. And then when I woke up this morning after the event, my back and forearms are sore, and my hands are all sensitive.
The other good thing that you can see this as a training is that doing the same obstacle over and over and over for 6 minutes, you can see where are your flaws. Whereas like maybe I need to improve that technique because you get, let's say, tired, or you just get rope burn every time. So okay, I need to improve something. So that was actually a good way to see which obstacle you're at your best, or you actually need to work.
Yeah, 100% agree. When you're doing the same obstacle over and over again, you're creating that neurological beaten path in your system that's going to make you more efficient, especially for, one, for short course, and then two, for ultra OCR, right? It's simulating that exhaustion you face when you're like, all right, I have to do the Weaver again for the 15th time on this 24-hour race or something like that. So definitely good for improving that performance.
Yep.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, it's been great having you on. We're going to start wrapping it up here because I got my wife's texting me asking me why I'm not going over to my in-laws' house. So we're going to call it. Before we go, any sponsors, family, friends you want to thank?
Well, of course, big shout out to Platinum Rig. They've been with me as an athlete since I started. So we're friends, and I'm so happy to have the rig here. I have my own mini rig, custom made. It's sleeping somewhere. I need to bring it to the gym. But Platinum Rig for sure. Exo bars. Check them out. Protein bars are really healthy and actually good for the environment as well. And I have actually a few. Exact Nutrition, Strong Bar Nutrition, Stoked Oat. I eat a lot in those entrance events. That's why I have a lot of food. I need it. And big shout out maybe to all the OCR community in Quebec. Salut la gang.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on. Sure, I got some Mud Run Guide articles coming out, so head over and check that out. And if you want to hear more about Yoked, there's a article on Mud Run Guide coming out for them too, kind of a review of their product. So check them out. That's about it. We will see you more in 2019 with more content. And thanks, Helene and Tim, for having me at Otherworld OCR. Again, you need to come check this place out if you're ever passing through the area, or definitely if you live locally. Yeah. Definitely get a membership. Like I don't know what you're doing with your time if you don't have a membership to this place. So, thanks again.
Thanks.